Mary, are you here? Mary, I have a question about tarot cards and oracle cards. Do tarot and oracle cards really connect to like spirits, or is it just like sort of just like random? Uh, I don't know, like quasi philosophy that people like to engage in, or are they really connecting to like spirits when they do oracle cards? Which is it? F O R S O M E I T I S B the P T H. For some, I'm guessing that P was supposed to be an O, so I'm going to change that and ask you. Did you mean for some it is both? And then you said yes. Mary, I was wondering, have you ever heard of something called the Moirai? That's Moirai. Have you ever heard of that? They're beings. No. Mary, are soul archetypes something that pretty much only guides and leaders know about? Soul archetypes. Mary, when you see leaders, are they in humanoid form? No. Are they in like spherical form? Are they like spheres? Have you ever seen a leader in humanoid form? Yes. When did you see a leader in humanoid form? O and M. Is that a Q? M. I got N, Y. R. O. T. B T I O N S. Mary, was the first word you wrote on? What was the second word you wrote? M A N Y. So Mary, did you say on many rotations? Mary, you just said that you didn't that you normally don't see them in humanoid form, but you said you've seen them in humanoid form on many rotations. Does that mean that you normally don't see them in human form, but you've seen them a lot in human form? Yes. Mary, I was wondering, there's two fourth dimensional bodies, and you once said that you call the fourth dimensional body from space. Were you referring to the spherical fourth dimensional body or the humanoid fourth dimensional body? The spherical one comes before the humanoid, is what you told me. H U N A N O I D. Okay. Well, that helps me. I thought it was the first one, but it ended up being the humanoid one, because you wrote humanoid. Mary, I'm wondering, why would talking to you on a Ouija board make me subconsciously remember my past lives? Like, what that you write would help that. Is that J? U S T E O. Actually, that might have been an F, but E R G Y T R A N F F. You wrote D R. Alright, so you wrote just, and then EOERGY, then TRANSFDR, but I'm pretty sure you meant just energy transfer. Is that what you said? Just energy transfer? Yes. Mary, could you do the energy transfer without the Ouija board to make my subconscious remember past lives? Yes. Mary, do you do that? Do you do energy transfer without the Ouija board in order to make me remember my past lives subconsciously? Yes. R A R L E Y. Rarely. Um, Mary, is Icarus with you now? No. Mary, what is Icarus's duties? What is his job like? Can you tell me like his job title? Like what is it? His job in the fifth dimension. No? You can't tell me his. Are you saying that you can't tell me his job? Yes. Mary, is there anything in Greek mythology that's actually real? P E R H A T S. Mary, in the Bible, it said that like on the first day God did this, on the second day God did that, and then he went through, and on the seventh day he rested. Um, is all that real? Yes. Mary, so I have a question. So on the sixth day, he created humans, males and females. That's what I read. And then it said that after that, that Adam and Eve were created. And that was after the day that God rested, I think. And I was wondering, so does that mean that Adam and Eve were not the first human beings on the planet, on Earth? That there was other human beings, but then they were in like a special place called the Garden of Eden. Is that a true? Is that a good interpretation of the beginning understanding of the Bible? T. I. M. E. W. A. S. F. L. U. I. D. Time was fluid. So does that mean that the past, the present, and the future were interchangeable? Is that what you mean? You wrote time was fluid. Did I?
Thank you so much. So, with Republicans pushing forward with plans to fill the closest Supreme Court vacancy to any presidential election in 156 years, what are some of the areas Democrats quiver? Impeachment, president or attorney general getting rid of the filibuster, even court packing? Well, let's discuss the options and where we go from here with Democratic Senator from Maryland, Ben Cardin. Senator Cardin, thank you for being with us tonight. It's good to be with you. Thank you. All right, what do you make of this hint?
Mary, so does that mean that, do you mean it was literally fluid, or it's like fluid in the Bible, like the way it's written is like out of time?
John, we're just asking the Republican leader to follow the same process he followed for President Obama when there was a vacancy in February of the election year. Merrick Garland.
W.
It wasn't about that nominee. It was about
R.
the leader saying that the voters have a right to be heard before that
I.
Well, we're a lot closer now than
T.
we were when President Obama's vacancy
T.
occurred. So let's respect the
E.
rights of the voters of this country who've already started the voting in some states.
And then it's N. Mary, so you're saying it was written like out of time, like I'm not supposed to read it linearly, like, so does that mean that perhaps the seventh day hasn't even happened yet, or did the seventh day happen and God really did rest?
Senator, if Hillary Clinton was the president right now,
You wrote yes.
Chuck Schumer was the majority leader, what would Democrats do, honestly?
R.
Well, we saw what Mitch McConnell did.
E.
In February
S.
election year, where there was
T.
a Supreme Court vacancy, the
E.
person who was nominated was a
D.
census-type individual.
So you're saying that God already did rest. He already took a rest on the seventh day.
Who had the majority, who was party of the president, he didn't draw that distinction. He felt that close.
So were Adam and Eve is that true? They were the first people?
So it was not a partisan matter that Mitch McConnell said. It was a matter that the vacancy occurred in the election year.
Yes.
We've had the Senate controlled by one party.
Okay. So did God rest immediately after making two people, and then like on the eighth day he made a whole bunch of people? Is that what happened? I.
Okay, this
D.
is what Senator Schumer said in a tweet
A.
in February of 2016.
N.
Last time we faced this, he said, "Attention GOP, Senate has confirmed
T.
17 SCOTUS justices in presidential election years. Hashtag do your job." Someone very influential
K.
asked in 2016, the summer of 2016, about whether this
N.
is move ahead. Said
O.
that's their
W.
That was Justice Ginsburg.
That was a C, not a D. Then. So you just wrote I can't know, right? Is there any books in the fifth dimension that like say that in more detail the seeding of Earth? Are there any books in the fifth dimension that are more detailed about it? About the seeding of the Earth?
Senator, what
Yes.
do you think happens if Republicans move forward? Clearly, they won't have any Democratic votes on the Senate Judiciary Committee, or if this gets to the floor. This talk of what will happen next year.
But I guess it doesn't say specifically if God made more people on the eighth day or what. It doesn't say specifically. Is that true?
I know there's going to be a lot of conversation with my colleagues in the Senate on both sides of the aisle. We want the Senate to work.
H.
We want comedy between the two parties, regardless of who's in majority
A.
or minority. That's when the Senate works best.
V.
We best the passage of the CARES Act,
E.
COVID-19 problems. We want the system
And
to work. But you
O.
can't have one
T.
or when the Republican, when you have a Democratic president with
R. E.
another one where there's a Republican president. That's
A.
not comedy. That's not working together.
D.
That's not showing the respect for the system.
You haven't read. So are you saying that you haven't read any of the books that are available? Yes. Okay, so that means that you haven't read any of those books that are available. Are you at all interested in reading any of those books?
We know you've served on the Judiciary Committee and now as a member of the fuller Senate as well. There's a lot of work ahead, a lot of pressure on all of you, and so we thank you for taking out time to visit with us. Thank you, sir.
N. T.
All right, GOP Senator Susan Collins
No.
up for re-election in November. Now, Alaska
C.
Lisa Murkowski's not, but both of them, Republican
L.
senators will leave a vote on the next Supreme Court nominee should
E.
they wait. So let's talk about that and get reaction
A.
to what Senator Cardin just told us.
R.
Republican Conference Chairman John
A.
Barrasso of Wyoming. Good to have you back, Senator.
N. C.
All right, you heard what your colleague across the
E.
aisle there said. He said, listen.
You said you can't, no clearance. So you're saying that the leaders won't let you read those books. Is that true? Yes. Mary, are there other fifth dimensional beings that do have clearance to read those books? Yes. Mary, are you disappointed that you don't have clearance to read those books? No. Mary, would you like to have clearance to read those books? No. Mary, why not? No. N. E. E. D. No need.
Okay, it makes a difference for a lot of folks whether you vote before or after the actual election, even if you've already started the process with a nominee through the committee process. We talked about Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski.
Mary, when I get to the fifth dimension, will I have the same attitude as you? Like, there's no need to read those books and other things? Will I have that attitude?
Do you think that whether it's before or after, you're not going to have either of these senators voting with you unless the president is resoundingly elected on November 3rd?
C. A. N. T. S. A. Y. Mary, is it possible that when I go to the fifth dimension that I'll be much more curious about things than you are?
If the Democrats win the White House and the Senate and have the House, they will change the rules. They will blow up the Senate. They have an entire war room working on this. They will expand the number of members of the Supreme Court, regardless
M
the Republicans and President Trump
T
if they get their way.
S
Bader Ginsburg said 9 is
A
not enough on the court. She said they shouldn't expand the court.
Y.
She said it makes it too political. But I
Mary,
will tell
are
you,
there
this
beings
is
in the
a
fifth
very
dimension
important,
that are
strategic
humanoid
background,
like you
and then they
that
went
are
ahead and
curious
said it
about
as well
things?
by expanding the number of states to include D.C.
Yes.
with 2 new Democrat senators. That's
So
what
is the
Senate
reason you
President
can't say if I'll be curious because leaders won't let you tell me?
Republicans are just trying to do a smokescreen for flipping their position in 2016, and what you're warning the country about is not actually
Yes.
going to fruition should they take power.
Well, the Democrats have a full-time war room. They have been campaigning on this promise. And the thing that really is telling to me is, and you showed the video today of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at a press conference with Chuck Schumer.
Mary, I'm going to go now, and thank you so much for talking to me. Before I go, is there a message that you have for me?
She is the de facto Speaker of the House because Nancy Pelosi is terrified of her, and Chuck Schumer is worried about a primary from her in 2 years in New York.
No.
She is running the Democrat Party and wants to run it further and further to the left, and that's a big problem.
Okay, I'm going to say goodbye now, okay, Mary?
Well, Democrats are trying to keep their tent together and make peace with these different parts, the younger, more progressive part of their party and the establishment folks that have been there for decades. We'll see who wins out as this moves forward. Senator Barrasso, thank you. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Shannon.